Don't you know God hates, apparently.
Hi.
Sasha,
Oh my goodness, what?
we're finally on the air.
Whew, it's always on the wire though, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I blew it yesterday. And then I accidentally deleted this episode, thinking I was deleting the old one. And I logged in at like 3:15, and we had no episode scheduled. I was like,
my God.
she's going to freaking kill me.
You get one, get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I know, man.
That means I've got one now. Well,
yeah, I don't know what's going on with you. It's wireless, something taking up your CPU or something like that. But
well, I've got a lot of air traffic here, and every time it goes over, it messes things up a bit. But there's been nothing going on over, and the last 10 minutes have just been the attack for me. I don't know why. So it's to go.
There's no strange vans or anything like that sitting out
always.
on your street.
Yeah, there's always something parked up out. Somebody doing something in the drains or in the phone terminal at the end of my house, and it's like, I go, you're just being paranoid. Am I being paranoid enough, though?
Yeah, you got to be a little bit paranoid. So we're doing basically a 3-part series on Fort Bennings.
Yeah.
And I think everybody listened to the last show. I mean, we've got like 1,600 downloads of it so far. So.
Oh my God, can't believe that.
Yeah, people seem to be enjoying it. So, just to recap, John T. Vasquez was on last week, and he gave a rundown of the night that he experienced. Everything from behavioral type stuff. It's a very, very strange story that really I've never heard any other type of story like this. You know what I'm saying?
No, not like this. I mean, similar, but this is like out there, isn't it? It is epic.
Yeah, it is. It's full blown crazy movie stuff.
Literally.
It is.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have John on next week to talk about a lot of stuff that happened after, not next week, but on the 10th of November. A lot of stuff that would happen following the night, because they sent him out in the woods. That night was just like the first part, and he sent him out in the woods for like 3 days, I guess, and there was all sorts of weird shenanigans going on, people not acting like they should act, and so we want to give John a good 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's not something that I would have thought would be a standard procedure for people who've been involved in such a monumental event, to send them somewhere for a few days when you've no idea what the effects are going to be, if they're going to run away, if they're going to shoot each other, so that seems to me like they must have been under some kind of observation there. Because why would they just do that? Okay, right, you've had all this now, off you pop, 3 days in the woods by yourselves.
Yeah, and it looks like his command, the command hierarchy was also involved as far as being tested. Like his immediate officers and their officers may not have known what was happening, and so it looks like it was a test.
If we're running with the theory of the behavioural sciences research project, then there was no rank excluded.
Right. Yeah.
So nobody would have known, and this is the beauty of it, and this is why it met such resistance, because there's lots of people who've worked within the industry and are connected who think they would know, but they wouldn't have known. They weren't meant to know, so all this kind of opposition incoming, especially that I had when I brought out this theory, so every single person that came up with retorts, and most of them were really quite hideous retorts as well, just simply would not have known. Or, that the whole situation is so compartmentalized that you wouldn't even know what the person sitting next to you was doing, So.
Yeah. And it kind of defeats the whole purpose, too, of telling anybody.
Yeah.
In
the beginning, they did say that they were going to, start fingerprinting and probably doing background checks on people because they wanted to shake people out. They said they'd actually, I think we'll be surprised at who might just suddenly up and leave. I thought that was an interesting comment. But that was just for background checks,
Yeah, which they weren't doing.
No.
They were just
go into our nuclear bases, whoever you are.
Yeah, disgruntled employees, leaving those places, and that's not a that's not good policy.
Absolutely.
So John contacted Ken Darnell, which is another witness that was at Fort Bennings that night. He was on another portion of the base, and he witnessed the lights and that sort of thing. So, hey, Ken, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm here.
So Ken, why don't you just start us off? Tell us, a little bit about yourself, what you were doing on the base, what your rank was, and that sort of thing, and then just kind of go into what you saw that night.
All right. I went in the military in October of 1976, and I arrived at Fort Benning, Georgia on the second day of January of 1977 for advanced infantry school and jump school. During that period of time, I guess I was about 3 weeks into my infantry training. We were standing in line one night at the clothes house at attention, going one step forward, going to parade rest, and we were getting our clothes from the clothes house. And it was kind of a structured event where we were all standing at attention, and as the line would move, we would come to attention and move one step and go back to parade rest. Well, someone turned their head to the left and was looking up, in which that was kind of breaking the ranks, I guess. And so other people started looking to the right and up, and what we saw was about 10 lights, white lights, no colors, just white lights, and they were all about the size of the planet Venus at sunset. So they were fairly prominent lights in the sky, but what made them unusual was that these 8 or 10 white lights were moving around each other as if gnats in a summertime storm. They were just moving around each other in the sky. And that was unusual, and all of a sudden the swarm of gnats, the 8 or 10 white lights that were moving around each other, formed a perfect circle. And the perfect circle was rotating slowly in the sky. One of the lights that was in the center of the circle suddenly jetted out from the other series of lights and went across the sky at tremendous speed, much faster than anything I've ever seen could move that fast, and suddenly stopped. And it made 8 or 10 movements across the sky, all at tremendous speed, sometimes making 45-degree angle turns, and then it shot back into the ring of lights that were still in the sky. And once that one light shot back into the ring, then they all started to mingle around each other again like gnats in a summertime storm. And this occurred about 3 times, where one of the lights would shoot off into the sky and make tremendous movements. But I never had a feeling that they were close. I always felt like they were high in the sky because you could see no shape to the lights. They were just points of light in the sky, albeit they were bright points of light. But they moved in the sky faster than anything I've ever seen. People later on said, well, maybe it was a flare or artillery flare, or maybe it was a group of A-10s returning to land at the air base. But no, that's not what it was. These were lights that moved upon their own and moved at tremendous speed. And after the incident was over with, I remember the people there with us were very afraid. We were scared because we'd seen something that we didn't understand. We knew that there's nothing that we made could make those movements. And after that, we continued on with our exercise, got our clothes from the clothes house, went back to the barracks, and continued on with our operations. And there was very little thought of the incident after that. John asked me, did I feel like I'd lost time during my incident? And no, I don't think I lost time, but I do feel like that there was something there that made me want to forget about what I saw, because I didn't dwell on it. The amount of fear that I had the night that I saw it, it seems like I'd have dwelled on it longer. But the next day it was back to normal, didn't think about it anymore, but I always recalled it after that. I've always recalled that incident when it happened. And according to my counting, my incident probably happened weeks prior to John Vasquez's incident happening. I don't know if anyone reported it to anyone at the base that night. I was just sure that we would get called and questioned about what we saw, but there was no questioning. No one called us to question what we saw, and it really wasn't discussed amongst the troops after that. It was just one of those things that happened one night, and we knew that it wasn't a natural event, but we didn't think about it anymore. And that's what I saw.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So when you had, on the night of John's incident, what was, did the base go on lockdown or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Not that I'm aware of.
So it was just normal business as usual?
It was normal business as usual. We had done PT and been out training that day when I saw what I saw. And we had ate chow, and we were going to the clothes house to pick up our laundry, which had been starched, of course, for training. And we were standing at attention in line, and someone looked up and saw these lights in the sky, and we were all fixated on them for about the next 15 minutes and the movements that they made. And that was what I saw. I didn't have a bunch of people running in fear or anything like that, but we all saw.
You saw
standing there amazed at what we were seeing, and we questioned each other about, I wonder if anyone said anything about this. This is not natural. I remember people talking, this is not natural. And it lasted for about 15 minutes, and then the lights just disappeared, you know.
Well, I've seen something like similar, well, not that many, but, you know, the way you describe the movement of the lights that you were seeing. When I was 12, I saw a light in the sky. I was with my mum, and we were outside, and that was flying really erratically. It flew like, you know, you have a house fly that kind of flies under your light shade, and it sort of does those funny kind of immediate about turns and zigzags, and but it was doing that, but at super high speeds, you know. Hundreds of people saw it because they were all phoning in the radio station that we were listening to. That was about 1982. So I find that interesting. And the fact that you say that nobody seemed to talk about it after, that's a kind of really sort of common thing with people who've seen things, especially in groups. Well, obviously groups, but I mean, they'll kind of not really acknowledging it, but never stopping thinking about it. I know that. I could relate to a lot of what you were saying there about how it left you, because I saw something incredible as well in 1997, and I've thought about it every single day since, you know. So, but it was something that I didn't talk about for about 8 years, and the people that were involved with me, we all fell out and drifted apart, and they even moved to a different country, you know. So I was on my own with it, just like, you know, like you've been, and you have all these questions and no answers. I find that interesting.
I know that there are 20 to 30 other people that were standing there in line that night with me that had the same experience and saw it, but I don't know where any of these people are at. As you say, you know, we graduated infantry school and went to our permanent duty assignments, and we didn't see each other anymore. We were there in a training mission, so we didn't stay together.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. That's another interesting point, because I know this across the board pretty much. In the Rendlesham case, they were all brand new, you know, just on base, doing the basic training and whatever. John was just on base. It seems that as soon as you all get on base, within a very short period of time, just a few weeks usually, something starts kicking off. What you've said to me, what you've described, I find very fascinating, because I think, how the hell have we got technology like that in 1976? So that kind of throws a spanner in the works of my theory. But other things that you're saying around it actually kind of support my thinking. This is very, very intriguing.
Well, if you look at a lot of the NASA footage, go ahead, Ken.
I looked at other internet postings and on some of the UFO websites over the years since that happened, and I have seen several incidences of people had filmed basically what I saw. The lights I saw move in the same movement of the ones that I saw in 1977. I've seen that before, of the lights just making erratic movements around each other in the sky at very high speed, and one light leaving the group and going out across the sky. I've seen a couple of those videos on the internet over the years that were similar to what I saw. I think that many different people see many different things, and sometimes they're related. I don't know if it's different technologies or different groups of people that come to study us or what, but people see different things.
You know, NASA has a lot of footage of that same type of stuff. There's several, like that smoking gun documentary and a few others where they show lights in the sky making those types of movements. You know, and it confuses the hell out of the astronauts.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, I was contacted a couple of weeks ago by Stan Friedman, and he questioned me about this event, and I was very eager to talk to him about it. He was interested in my event also, and he's, of course, a world-renowned physicist and studied UFOs for years. And I was interested. He was interested in it, and he was kind of on the line of, I think, wanting to find some rosters from that period of time to find out who was in particular units at that time, to maybe track down some other people that may saw the same event. Because as I said, there was at least 20, 30 people there that night that saw what we saw.
Yeah, there has to be archival, just run-of-the-mill, boring research. You know, that's what you got to do to get to these cases. You have to go in and you have to, you know, find the rosters, and you have to go in and you have to track these people down, and you know, it's a whole huge thing. It's not just you know. So
but Stan's the man. If anyone can, Stan can.
Yeah,
and I think he's really it's those eyebrows.
Well, when I first posted my story on the internet, I did it in the hopes that someone might see it that saw what I saw at Fort Benning that night, and would maybe contact me, and that's why I put my phone number on my posting. But as of yet, and it's been 2 years since I posted it, I've not had anyone. The internet
is a very big place, so you know, and it's hard to do that. It's because there's no one kind of central point of information, and if there is, and there's these big organisations, they do not share their, you know, any of their info. So, you know, things get swallowed up, and there's so much crap out there. There's rubbish, piles of it.
Well, I believe that too. There is a lot of,
you know,
so
there's a lot to wade through, and it can be off-putting because you just think, well, this is all bollocks. This is not what I'm looking for. You know, there's also. It seems that everybody sees something completely different. There's hardly any correlation between types of crafts and events. You know, there are, but they're very tenuous usually. So, you know, even if there was like a database of types of sightings, there'd be just, you know, millions of very similar ones, or, you know, and people don't want to give out their info, or you know, either, and the ridicule factor, and you know, anybody who talks about it usually gets a kicking from somebody verbally on the internet, you know, called a liar.
But, you know,
and
I've never let that bother me, what people thought about what I saw that night.
Yeah.
And I've been
either.
an upstanding member of the community. I mean, I'm a public servant. I've been in the military. I worked on EMS. I worked with Department of Corrections for 25 years, and I'm a training specialist with them. And I've raised a family, and I've never denied it. When somebody questions that, has anyone ever seen anything that was strange in the sky, I'll always recount my story, and if they believe me, I've had a couple of people chuckle at me, you know, and say that I saw planes or something, but I know what I saw. What I saw was not anything that came from humankind. That's what I saw. That's what I
Ken,
saw.
You have to look at it this way. I mean, a lot of people may have something that happened to them. There's a lot of cases, I could just start spitting out names, you know, who will have an event, and then they will get some attention from that event, and then they will start making shit up, and writing books, and you know, and that's the trap. So someone like you is much more credible just for the fact, you know, you can even talk about a Travis Walton. Well, Travis Walton says, I had this happen to me, you know, but he's not going around saying all this other stuff is still happening, and I got a message from the Space Brothers, you know, that whole thing.
Right.
You know, he's just, here's what happened.
Yeah. This is
here it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Ken, when you talk about, hey, I was in the military, I had this thing happen, I believe you 100% because it's had such a profound effect on you. You know what I mean? That you don't need to make
some things that occur you never forget, and that was one of those events that happened in my life that I've never forgotten. You know.
Yeah, especially the way that it happened. You know, you're just standing there, all of a sudden you look up, and there's, you know.
How old were you when it happened, Ken?
I was 19. Well, I was 18 years old. I was soon to be 19, but I was still 18 years old because I went in the military on my 18th birthday, and it was just months after that when this event occurred. So I was still 18 years old.
Yeah, just out the sweet wrapper, just like Larry Warren. He was 19 when it happened to him on St. Waters when they had a kind of like a 3-day event there, and similar to what John's described in some respects. Definitely, you know, mind blowing. But
that age bracket too is kind of important.
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of cases, you know, the first contacts or the first you know, ass whooping these people get is right around that, you know, 18, 19 up to like 25. You know. So
I know it's a standard age for kind of joining forces, but you know, we don't seem to have many older people. I mean, there's a few of the UFOs and nukes. I suppose Jim Pennison and John Burroughs would be considered to be the older age bracket, but you know, I find it very interesting that there's so many brand new recruits having these experiences to tell.
Yeah, and that time period during the Cold War, you know, late 70s, early 80s, was.
But then we've got to look about what could it have been, though. I mean, you know, I've read about some crazy stuff, and I know that we could get things in the air silently using anti-gravity. But, I mean, did they have the capability?
Well, when I saw that night, there was absolutely no noise whatsoever. There was no sounds whatsoever. Yeah. It was just white light.
Yeah. So
stars moving erratically in the sky. Very bright stars, albeit the brightest stars in the sky, but they were moving very erratically and moving around each other like gnats in a swarm. And they formed a perfect circle in the sky.
Was it completely dark out?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yes, it was dark out. It was nighttime. It was definitely nighttime. And we were on a military barracks street. You know, there were barracks buildings, the old World War II type dormitory barracks were on both sides of the road, and we were going down the road to the clothes house to pick up our laundry for the week. And it was in that street environment. I mean, I'm sure there were street lights out, but what we saw in the sky was easily enough seen with the light that was there that night. I mean, everyone saw it.
Okay, on the night that, of John's incident, you know, you say it's like a normal night, but how far away was where John and them were compared to where you were at?
I would say basically blocks away, because the training area is very close in right there at Fort Benning. There's one section that does infantry school, and there's one section that does airborne school, and there's one section that does military base operations there at Fort Benning. So it's kind of compact, and John, I understand, was in training also, so I'm sure it was only blocks away probably.
Well, that's very interesting because, you know, there was supposedly 1,400 people marched out in the field, and there was a lot of commotion, screaming and yelling and gunfire, and you guys didn't hear anything?
No. But as I said earlier, I believe what I saw happened as much as 6 weeks prior to what John saw. I've explained that to John. During my time frames, arriving at Fort Benning on January the 2nd of 1977, advanced infantry school was 8 weeks long. So that takes you through January and February, and then jump school was 3 weeks long. So that takes me to the third week in March. I was leaving Fort Benning by the end of March of 1977, and the way I understand what John happened was in maybe June or July of 77. So I'm thinking his experience was as much as a month and a half after what I saw the night that I saw what I saw.
And would you have still been stationed there? And
we were stationed there approximately the same time.
John's was in September, wasn't it?
Well, if it was in September, it was several months after my experience, because I arrived at Fort Bragg for my permanent duty station in the middle of May of 1977. I left Fort Benning sometime around the end of April, first week in May of 1977. So I'm thinking my event happened between March and April of 1977, what I saw.
Fascinating. Right, because in the Rendlesham incident, there was alleged UFO sighting just a few months before, and there was in the January after. So what we've got here is yours is in the March or February or whatever, and John's is in the September, which is a month after. How many military bases are going to get that much attention from ET? You know, they keep coming back time after time. What for? Do you know what I mean? Why are all these bases having multiple UFO events? That's
if these people are guarding nukes, you know, what people think, I'm still on the fence about what all this is. You know, if there is an ET connection working with a compartment of our government or our military complex, along with UK, basically people who had nukes, it would be in their best interest to make sure that those nukes are guarded, and the people guarding them would not let anything happen to them. Because, you know, you start letting off nuclear devices, you know, they're nothing like the atomic bomb. You know, they light the atmosphere on fire. I mean, they're... I mean, they, you know, they're like, you know, 1,000 atomic bombs, you know, or whatever, you know, and whatever is living here, whether it's in our physical realm coming here via dimension or whatever.
Right, you're suggesting that if there was an issue and the Department of Naval Affairs decided there was a massive issue such as this magnitude, and we've also got ET keeping an eye on things, and also in some instances working alongside the military, that it would be a joint operations between the military and ET to shake up the nuclear industry. Is that what you're saying? That's interesting.
Well, not really to just shake it up, just to say,
to make it secure.
if one of these things go off, we all go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're not just killing yourselves, you're killing everything.
Yeah.
And I mean everything. And it may,
it
may have other ramifications. Because we don't know the connection between our planet and ET, or there's so much we don't know in physics. I mean, this could, having something, a catastrophe like that happen could affect the Earth or whatever on a subatomic level. It could have, we don't know the ramifications, you know, when you get down to to those levels.
Well, I do know
what that has on other...
The atmosphere is being left completely unstable due to all the high-altitude nuclear explosions, and also down to the kind of crap that's in the air now that is making everything so electrified, you know, and it's literally the weather is changing because of it. So the weather and the air is so ionized that I'm sure that in certain parts of the world in the sky, a nuclear weapon wouldn't detonate because if the air's already ionized, then it cannot detonate. You know, it's like it's been EMP'd already. So, you know, it resonates for a while. It's not instant. It's not a pulse, and then it's gone. It's there. So you can't fire a nuke. You can't fire two nukes in the same spot of the sky because the second one won't go off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole nuclear threat thing to me seems a bit of a distraction, to be honest, because of that fact. But what you've said, actually, even though it's completely mental,
it makes sense. If we're talking about this, then you got to add that to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
Well, it has always been my opinion, and this is just the way I think. I think the government knows a lot more than what they let the public know, and I think the reason is because it would shake up the world of religion more than anything else. When people realize that there's another intelligence out there, and maybe their religious beliefs aren't
I think
they were taught.
Assimilate, and all religions would just say, well, they would take that a step further, that God made all life in the universe.
They've already adjusted. There's
some people. No, it would affect people. I think it would shake up the economy. I think that the money would be an issue. You know, the stock markets would crash and blah blah blah, and people who have would lose. Or we've already got nothing. They own everything that we own anyway. You know, so I think the fear is losing control of everything that keeps us in control.
Right. Proof of the change. Proof of the change would change society. Period. I think.
Yeah.
Proof of the knowledge.
I don't know that it would necessarily be for the worse, though. I mean, I don't even know if things could get any worse than they are right now. You know.
Yeah, they can't. Listen,
as a standard way of life, it's pretty harsh on everybody. You know.
Yeah. The bookings report that came out. When they did, those think tanks did a study with regular people that came out in the early 60s or late 50s talking about, hey, we got to keep this secret. People will not react well to it, and they used Orson Welles in 1939 for the War of the Worlds broadcast as a perfect example.
Yeah.
Look at what happens when another comet comes. Everybody says there's a spaceship behind it, and they've forgotten all about Hale-Bopp and all the people that died and all the people that made to look like idiots and had to go into hiding pretty much because, they based their whole careers on just a bunch of crap. All the remote viewing people that come out of the woodwork and Hoagland and all these guys, Art Bell, all those nuts on Art, Ed Dames, and people have no memory of this stuff, especially in this genre that we're dealing with. So that's why I stay on the fence at all times because, you'll just be slung shot around. One day it's drones, and then it's Bigfoot, and then it's reverse vampires, and then it's
what on earth?
flag. Yeah, man. I mean, it just doesn't end. It does not end.
Oh, that was.
I stood up here. I stood up on the fence and I watched all these people just eat each other.
Well, it's up to each of us to discern the truth by what we see and what we feel, what we know, the knowledge that we have, and the knowledge that I have is that I have seen something in my life that I did not understand, that I did not think was from our technology, and I've always thought that, and nothing that anyone could say could change my thought unless some kind of study came out saying that we had some kind of craft that could do what those craft were doing that night in 1977. I don't think that's going to happen. It couldn't have been done with lasers in the sky or things like that. What we saw were definite objects, and they were bright white glowing objects that moved in the sky. And
listen, Ken, your
yes, sir.
brain at the time, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you and all these other soldiers are watching this in the sky, you're all thinking the same shit. Is it an airplane? No, it's not an airplane. Is it a meteor? You guys are all going down the list in your mind of what
Right,
this is.
that's correct.
You're not just going, oh, a UFO. Oh, that's what it is. You guys are doing the checklist.
Yeah.
It's a checklist.
And after the list of explainable things went away, it's when we got afraid.
Yeah,
that's when I felt afraid.
Oh my God, I know that one as well. When we had our group meeting, we were all stood right underneath this craft in the sky. It was kind of in the clouds, but we were on a. And we had something land on the floor behind us, and we were all acting like, we were watching the most amazing fireworks that we'd ever seen. And then, afterwards, we've all been feeling like we've been shredded by a machine, completely mentally, and emotionally, and everything, So, but it's afterwards, and things that I've had a few sightings since that I just can't explain, and it's afterwards, and I think that was just outside my window. Oh my God, But at the time,
you're going down the list. It's like when I told you about when I was sitting there listening to music in the middle of the night, lights are on and everything. Somebody tapped on my headphones, tap, tap, tap. It was loud, and I jump up and am even more freaked out that there's no one there. And then, I'm going through the list.
Yeah.
And then you just come to a conclusion. And I don't think debunkers. Listen, it's okay to be a skeptic. I'm a skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
Ken's a skeptic. Sasha's a skeptic. You have to be that way. You have so you can process the information. It's when you get into debunkery, like Shermer and Class and all these guys, where that's their job to debunk. Even if they had it right in front of their face, they wouldn't admit it for the simple fact that it's their job to debunk. That makes sense, Ken?
Well, absolutely. And as far as I know, there's no way to prove the events that happened the night that I experienced what I did. But
you don't need to prove
that's
it.
There are people that their job is to go out and disprove things, of course. But it's sometimes hard to prove something that's an event that occurred so long ago, and unless you can put the facts together. As I said earlier, if you could get 15 of those 30 people together and find the names of those 30 people and have them to recall the same event, the same memory, the same time, the same night, because I'm sure the other people that saw what I saw would have stuck with them the rest of their lives too. And that would be the process behind maybe documenting an actual event by having more than just one testimony about it.
Right.
But I feel confident. I feel confident that what I saw and everyone else saw deduced in everyone's mind that what we saw was not anything that we could have produced or made.
Right, but it wouldn't matter to debunkers. You can have 100 people, and there's been cases of this, and they still say, "Oh, it was something else." I mean, they'll say things about airline pilots and Air Force pilots, that oh, they saw this. And, they're not pilots. They have no reference point. They're just pulling shit out of their ass, and that's just the way it is. It's like, Ken, you can't really prove this because it's like trying to prove the existence of God.
And in my observations, people don't try to prove anything. They just try to discredit the person who was trying to make a case,
Right.
But, there are quite a lot of people now, who we'll call them grassroots ufology, who are really trying to prove things, going the opposite way. So, it's quite a good time, I think, to have stepped out, because there's a lot of people who don't blab about all over the internet. Like I've noticed, I get a lot of things sent to me privately and said to me privately, because people don't want to put their head up above the parapet, So what you might find that you get, Ken, is people will come to you now that you're out talking about it, people might just sort of come to you privately rather than finding and talking to you on the internet, because it's such a battleground, And I think most people have already been through all that, you just, I hope, anyway, and there's, I know a lot of people that are probably listening that me and Guy know, they really like something new like this, and the more information that we get, we've got the more ideas we've got on what areas to look to find people, or any other documents that might support what's gone on, even down to fire services being called and civilian reports of things being seen. If we've got a good time frame and area, we can start looking, because initially I thought that what you'd seen occurred at the same night as what John had seen, so
No, I'm sure it's months. It's months earlier than what John saw.
And this is even more intriguing because
multiple events.
What first got me involved with talking to John was, of course, there wasn't an internet in 1977, but in the mid '80s, when internet became available, I started doing searches I just typed into the search engine Fort Benning UFO incidents. And John's story came up, and that was the only one that I've ever found. And after I read his story initially in the mid-'80s or something like that, I came to realization that his events happened months after what I saw, and it was different. Of course, he had a much different experience than what I had, but it was in the same time frame. It was within 3-month period of time. That the two events occurred, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of people would also just go in denial. They'll just be like, a lot of people don't want to know. I've run into people like that. I don't want to hear it. They've got their head down and they got their own little thing going on, and they don't want anything to mess it up. I mean, that's a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, they do.
So. Sasha and I didn't want this to be a book of the week type show. We want to. Sasha's done a lot of research and stuff out there, and we need to get it. I'm getting into that now. I'm getting into where I'm actually researching the cases and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So we're able to bring this case. I mean, John's been interviewed 100 times. I've been interviewed on another show. Where we can, get another spin on it, and a pretty good spin, and have documents back it up, So that's kind of our goal with this show, and why we're doing it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think it'd be interesting if we could get Stan the Man on as well to have a chat about all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point,
Yeah.
we don't want the whole thing to end up being a Fort Benning thing, but it does need looking at. I mean,
well, that's what you got to do, man. I mean, you listen to John's story, really think about that story that he tells, and it's been consistent throughout since he started really saying it. As far as I know, Think about what Ken saw and how that has stuck with him his entire life, and it had such a profound impact on his life.
Yeah.
Nobody's.
Well, my thoughts were after I read John's story that what happened to John was those same lights that we saw high in the sky that night somehow or another came down closer to the ground on the night of his experience. So I think they were there for a period of time. If I saw them months before John did, they were apparently there somewhere in the area or able to be there during that period of time. And maybe one of those lights that were going erratically over the sky came down to a low level, and that's what caused John to see the tremendous bright white light that he said that he saw.
I'll bet you if we start contacting people from that spring into that autumn of 77, and we start contacting people, I bet you we're going to get people talking about other incidents of lights. I bet you we're, from different nights, another group of people out and they'll see something.
Yeah.
Well, the public record should have something to do. I mean, people usually, when they see things, they will contact someone.
The police.
It should be
usually people ring the police, so that might be a good place to start.
Is there a newspaper article from, that day or night or the following day? Because Fort Benning's by a town, isn't it? Is Fort Benning's by a town?
I don't know of any. There was not a document that I read after the incident about lights in the sky. And maybe I wasn't looking for one because I was 18 years old and I was in infantry school. I was concentrating on other things. But who knows? There could have been
I'm talking about like a town
article.
paper. Yeah, a town paper or something like that from an adjacent town or something like that. I mean,
it'd be Columbus, Georgia. Columbus, Georgia is right there adjacent to Fort Benning.
Yeah, I bet there is. I bet if you or somebody, give me the dates and I'll do it. I'll start looking up for that type of stuff.
And looking at the police phone records as well, people reporting anything, because a lot of the time people ring the police when they see something.
Right.
There might be police.
That's what led some credibility to those Phoenix lights that were seen several years ago, because so many people over such a large area called in and reported it that night, seeing the object in the sky in Phoenix several years ago. And
they tried to pass that off as flares as well, didn't they?
I was living in Phoenix outside with my dogs, and I actually saw them but didn't know what I was looking at. I just thought, wow, the planes look weird, because I could see the planes waiting to land at Sky Harbor Airport. If you go outside at night, you could see real high up in the air planes waiting. And I thought to myself was that, wow, the planes look really weird tonight, or really cool, or whatever, Yeah. And then the next day, it blew up, and I'm just like, holy crap. I saw that. Damn, I didn't get a picture or anything. You know what I mean? My mind.
There were a lot of people that did get pictures that night, did get photographs and video footage too.
Yeah.
And that's what made that event one of the ones that's still not explained as far as I know.
Yeah, it wasn't just the lights too. There was a craft the size of a ocean liner that came down from, I believe it was the Kingman area when it first started being seen, and just silently went down, went over the, I believe it was the eastern part of Phoenix, like around Thunderbird Highway and all that stuff. Just this huge, massive triangle. And 50 people saw that. They saw it.
Right.
And, I've heard people say that it was people skydiving with flares.
Oh, God.
It's like, what is it that has just turned your mind off to being able to process everything? When you think like that, completely, But to see these people apply that same type of thinking to their everyday life. You know what I mean?
Some people do. Some people do apply that thinking to their. They stick their head in their sand. I think that's one of the things people do when they come to a realization that maybe it's something that they have never experienced or not familiar with in their life. They tend to shut it down.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying it was aliens. I'm just saying it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happened. There was 50 people did not just not see this thing block out the sky and all the stars, and see the three big lights in it and the one in the middle. I mean, they all saw that. They all described the same thing. They all were very moved by it spiritually. It moved them. I mean, they were like, it just it's one of those life events that you have in your life. It's just like a flagpole event. The birth of your child.
An event by the true definition.
That marriage, that awesome marriage, your birth of your first child, your first kiss, first time you have sex, and then you see this big frickin' UFO. That's another one. And it's very emotionally. These people become emotionally attached. They had city council meetings where these people drove hundreds of miles to go into Phoenix and to say, "What the hell did we see? We all saw it."
Right.
There's no getting around it. It was there. It happened.
Now explain to us what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
don't
just
tell
said,
us that it didn't happen. Just say, if you don't know.
It cost a city councilwoman her job.
Yeah.
The governor, that idiot, brought out Fife Symington. Well, he's not really an idiot now, but he made a really bad decision to make light of it. I mean, he had actually seen it.
Yeah.
He actually
saw
it.
He did clean afterwards. I mean, he might have come out wearing that stupid mask, but, I mean, at the end of the day, he did.
And he came out and he said, "I was an idiot. I made a mistake," and...
that takes balls, that. I don't care what, I think
he was an idiot. That's why I like him now.
you feel the pressure, don't you? But then your conscience takes over and you go, "No, fuck that, actually. I'm not doing that."
Yeah. He was thinking about his career. It cost, I think her name was Frances McCormick, cost her city council job. And you know what kills me is that she got hooked up with Richard Hoagland. He had her running around all over the place. There's going to be the reverse speech people say there's going to be an alien ship appearing here. Let's go. So they got her in a car and they drove into the mountains. And, oh my God, I was just like, are you effing kidding me? This woman was just, immediately got in with the wrong people. Once she started, this is what happens when you get into this genre.
These are the horrors.
Horrors. You see all the wackiness, and pretty soon you have to come to a decision. Am I going to start swimming with all this garbage? Or am I going to get out of the pond and find a gem in the sand or whatever? You know what I mean? Yeah, walk on my own. You see,
I've got nothing but respect for people who come out and say what they're saying. I know how hard it is, because I just feel like I've been in a fight for the past 8 years since I started talking about what happened to me. And maybe the fight's in myself, I'm the only person feeling it, but it's hard out there, And you can lose a lot. Like you've said, these people lose their jobs. People are afraid to speak out when they've been in the military because they're afraid to lose their pensions, and we've all got to eat, And these are the things that are given to us. And so when anybody comes out and says this has happened, I'll stand by it forever. I mean,
I've explained my experience to people over the years. When I was questioned about it, anyone ever seen something in the sky that they couldn't recognize? But I've never, until I posted it on the internet website 2 years ago, made it a point to write about my experience, to publish it or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just something that happened, and I did want to document it, mainly because I was hoping someone else that may have been there that night would have seen the internet posting and tried to get in contact with me. But as I said, that's been 2 years ago, and it's not happened. I've never went at it to the light of trying to promulgate it. Not saying it's something that I want to talk about or
you don't want
make
it to
insinuations about what I saw, but I've always explained it as I saw it, and that's the only way that I know how, because it is the one event in my life that I did see something that was unexplainable to me.
Well, writing it down and getting it out there and off your chest is therapy. It's therapeutic to do that, That's why I started doing these shows. It's therapy for me, or I'd go nuts, I'd start...
we still do.
I don't know what
we still need it. We'd go more nuts if we didn't have it.
Yeah, I was listening to these other shows, and I'm like, this is the same shit every show, it's...
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But you found John, and you found Stan, and now us, and then, I won't let this lie, because I'm completely intrigued by all of this. And just as I did with Rendlesham, it took 7 years of effort, real, effort and communication and so much reading of the most boring documents. And I can honestly say thousands of them, and probably not every single one of them was genuine, but for the most part they were. And they were sent to me from all kinds of people. Lots of people wanted to help me. So, when I was out there firing things out and firing questions and just pondering out loud, on forums, people often, I even received a self-destructing message that I had 5 minutes to read, copy the information, etc., because the person who sent it to me didn't want a track back to them, because it was so full of information. No, but I was so excited. I was like, it's like James, but I've got my own smoking man. It's like X-Files. But what they sent me was all to do with files that were in the CIA and, MOD, Freedom of Information archives. And they were really specific, and it was brilliant information. So, these things happen, and because I'm so outspoken and I do all these things, it keeps happening. It's still happening now. So now that I'm not saying I can make a difference at all. I'm just saying I might be able to, in that same way. And I think I made a lot of headway with some of the Rendlesham stuff, and I brought some things to light that were initially denied, and then actually, admitted, especially with the drugs and hypnosis of everybody, when it was all like, no, it never happened, and then it was like, oh yes, it did, and the deputy base commander came out and said that he's 100% sure that it happened. So, all that came to light. So, hopefully, now that we've got this going, some people might start sending some things and some clues, and whatever I get, I'll send straight to you. If anything comes up, or if I have any ideas or whatever, because I do love a mystery.
Yeah, and it's not something that I think would be completely solved. I think it's just more of putting the puzzle together and giving it a broad something to talk about. I mean, something more to look at. A few more
pixels to the picture.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cases that, you can only go so far with Roswell now.
Well, I think there's been other incidences also where there have been sightings in certain areas for periods of time, and then no sightings after that. And I'm thinking that during that period of time in 1977, there were other sightings in that area during that time, and I think that's kind of common for events to occur. Sometimes they occur in an area for a period of time and then not again for a while,
Yeah.
And I think in 1977 was one of the years that there were a lot of sightings in 1977.
Yeah. I think my grandson...
From what I've researched, it has been a lot. There were a lot of sightings in 1977.
Yeah.
You can also look at
areas,
the Earth's magnetic field, where it was as far as strength in that area. You know what I mean? There could be some coalition. Is it super intense there, or is it real low? I mean, there's places when the Hubble telescope orbits the Earth that they have to turn on, or they have to turn off instruments, because as it's going around, it hits a weak part of our magnetic field, and all of a sudden, the Hubble is exposed to actual space, and it'll fry all the, fry all the instruments. So they have to shut them off. There's all sorts of correlations, you can look at as far as why they only happen in one spot for a while, and why they move around. I mean, you can track all that stuff. All that data is already done and tracked. You just need to go get it.
Some theory that runs along those lines in the country, and I can't for the life of me remember them now. They say that they only appear in certain places because the conditions are right, because of those, those factors are similar. Somebody's told me about this a little while ago. I think it might have been Joanne Summerscales from Mamash. I'll have to have a word with her and find out what that is, because they said that they can either predict where these are coming and they're being proven to be right, or they can say that they can pinpoint within a day or so of where a sighting might have occurred. Say, if I told him about my story, he might be able to pinpoint the date for me if I didn't tell him it, because of certain conditions, etc. I wasn't obviously paying that much attention, but I know somebody's got a lot of research, and some people that I've heard it talk about him before, I actually respect their opinion on these kinds of things, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, because EMF is the electromagnetic field is what keeps you from falling through the floor, walking through walls. If you can manipulate that, and believe me, it's what holds a star together. It's part of what holds a star together, not just gravity.
Yeah.
So it's one of the four components in the universe besides gravity, and we don't know what gravity is. We know it's an effect of something. Gravity is actually an effect, but we don't know what causes gravity, whether it's dark matter, dark energy, or whatever. If you have and we can see planets right now. We can spot them. So somebody who's a million, a billion years, even 1,000 years or whatever ahead of us somewhere, they're going to see us. If they're looking, they're going to see us. If they're looking for
certainly will
us,
have heard us.
they'll see us. Yeah, and they're going to have technology to where they can manipulate these, gravity and electromagnetism. If they can manipulate those to where they can bend space or whatever, I don't even, I can't even really get into it that much, because then it can really, you get into, theoretical physics and crazy crap like that and stuff. And they're going to be able to do stuff that we don't understand, like move at those speeds. You hear scientists now say, oh, that can't be a UFO, because if they're moving like that, the G-forces would, crush them or whatever.
Yeah.
Well...
But they used to say that if you travelled over 4 miles an hour, your chest would crush and you'd suffocate.
Yeah, if you have that technology going across galaxies or whatever, I think they would have worked that out. Yeah. That it's not an issue.
Well, I think that we have as well, to a certain extent. I've read a lot about technologies involving magnetics, electricity, plasma beams, literally. Even today I was watching War of the Worlds, ironically, the film, the 1953 version. And when they were coming up and out of the crater, and he was going, oh, it's anti-magnetics, he said it's a magnetic flux. The beams act like poles, keeping it over off the ground. And I was like, this is 1953, this film was made. Right?
Yeah.
At least we know to be true now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, wow, that is mad shit. So in 1953, they've put it in a film, and so it's just going to have been somebody knew stuff back then,
Yeah, you know, it's a matter of controlling it. It's a matter. You can have the technology. I mean, Stanton Friedman made a great analogy. It's like taking a nuclear submarine back to, you know, the 1500s and saying, you know, telling someone to make 3 of those, you know, to reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know, I think that we may even have the technology and we may understand some about it, but I don't think we have, one, the computing power to do it. I don't think we have the math down, just because everything in physics right now, except for the basic stuff, is really theory. You know, it really is. It's and there's a lot of data and a lot of people working on it, and it's theory. It just makes me question that back in 1977, to work with anti-gravity, we would actually have to be flying their ships, not ours. We did not have the computer. We barely had the transistor. We were still using vacuum tubes. We were using punch cards in the computers. I mean, we were punching cards.
But like you say, we didn't even necessarily have to be us. It could have been them. They could have been in cahoots together.
That's what I'm saying. It would have to be them. It would have to be one of their, like maybe us flying one of their ships or whatever. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just totally speculating here.
Yeah.
You know, but I know the technology of the time. I'm very versed on it, and that's why I think people like Andrew Basagio talking about
it's coronavirus.
Open up wormholes with Tesla technology, you know, to go to the moon. You know, well, do you know that just the computing technology to send somebody that way it wouldn't be our technology. There'd be no way it could be ours. You know, you would have
serious frequency jiggery pokery that.
I mean, just the storage, just to store the data. We couldn't store the data anywhere. We had, I remember when in mainframes, SCSI hard drives that had 10 megabytes were as big as, half a dresser. And they had these big handles that you pulled them out. We couldn't store that data. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We would have to have, it couldn't be something that we could reverse engineer and develop because we didn't have the manufacturing, the logistics, and all that stuff to make the electronics or whatever to, complement that technology. We would have to use their technology. It would have to be theirs.
It'd have to be the real deal, yeah.
Yeah, it couldn't be us.
I like the idea of them being involved as well, though. That's kind of funky.
That's really the only thing.
I mean, it really is important enough, you know, for the military and the ET to both just go, hang on a minute, we've got to sort this shit out because if we don't, we're all going to die.
Take care of this because if you mess this up, you know, we're going to...
What do you think of that, Ken? Is he still there?
Hey, Ken?
Yes, I'm here.
What do you think of the stuff that we've been saying? Do you think, you know?
Oh, absolutely. We don't understand the physics of our own universe yet, so we're at a very primitive state, even though the last 150 years we've advanced tremendously, and some say it's because of reverse engineering and some of the alien craft that's been found. I don't know if that's necessarily so, but I definitely know that we've definitely increased exponentially in technology in the last 150 years. And if we do the same level for the next 150 years, who's to know, we might understand some of the physical laws. But if there are other entities that are so many, maybe billions of years ahead of us, they may have succeeded in mastering some physical laws that we don't yet understand, because the way I understand it, a lot of people that experience these type of events has some sense of a loss of time. And when you're speaking of a loss of time, that's physics to its ultimate state right there. When you can manipulate time. And I think that could be the case, that there are entities that are so far ahead of us that they look at us like a paramecium or whatever and study us. And who knows, Eric von Däniken might have been right, and some of the other people, we may have been seated here in eons ago. I don't know, but
yeah.
That's
you know,
only speculation.
Right, and I think our perception of time is completely off to what it really is. I mean, our perception of time is our clocks and calendars and that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In actual universe time, you know, it could be something that's just completely different. And we could be missing our time because of the way that we measure it or whatever, you know. But in reality, they were just gone, you know, they could have been gone a week, you know, and it was just a couple of hours our time. You know what I'm saying? It kind of gets wishy-washy. I think the way that we look at time is wrong. It's just something that it just bugs me. It's like the calendars and everything, like people with 2012 and all this. It's like, listen, this is stuff that we invented.
Yeah.
You know, we invented the calendars and we invented the clocks to measure all this. And so for us to put a date on it, you know, like the Mayan calendar and stuff like that, you know, maybe the Mayans only grasped that much of time. You know what I mean? I mean, that was that was as high as they could go, you know, in their, that's as far as they evolved. You know what I mean? And that's why it stopped or something like that. Who knows, you know? And they just attached a bunch of...
If time flows in waves like energy does, it's a whole other story. Because Einstein said that time flowed in waves, like radio waves, and there were peaks and valleys. And if you could go through those peaks and valleys, you could actually, instead of following the wave, you could advance in time. By the way the universe is laid out, it's ever expanding. It's expanding in a wave-like structure. So, like I said, these are physical laws, and I'm not even qualified to talk about. But I do understand the theory.
Well, we have gravity.
No, but you are, Ken. But you are, Ken. I mean, you're an intelligent man. You've gone through lots of things in your life, and you have common sense, and you think about these things, and you know, what people say is important when it comes to this, you know. You know, my perception of predicting the future is that, listen, there's 6 billion people on this planet, and they all are tied into the future in some way by the decisions that they make, you know, whatever. And you have to account for all that. You know, whose future are you? How does someone tell the future of the human race when they have all these decisions of people that make the future? How do they account for all that?
All those logistics and the variables.
I mean, it's mind-boggling if you think about it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking about. It's all fun, you know, to listen to people, you know, people like, oh, we're going to have floods and, you know, all this crap. It's all just doom and gloom. It's never anything happy. You know what I mean?
Things like that always happen, and they always have happened.
Yeah.
Landscape
like we're going to
change.
figure it out. We're going to stop butchering each other. We're going to stop doing all this.
That's what we need to focus on, yeah.
I mean...
Well, I've always had a logic that no matter what your thought process is, that the human race itself is a dying race, because if you believe in religion, God's going to come back and the world's going to end. If you believe in evolution, we're going to eventually overpopulate the planet to where we can't. There's not enough resources to make the human race survive, and we'll end up going the route of many other species on our planet. We'll become extinct. So the future isn't bright unless we have that person that is there for us, be it God or be it someone that's our overseer that might save us from ourselves, because if we were seeded here, we were seeded by a species that was already here on this planet, and it didn't take away the aggressive, humanistic nature of people wanting to control and to have power and to cheat. And until we get that out of our system, I think we're destined to destroy each other, because most humanity is like that, I believe.
Right. Well,
always be wars.
Well, we're going to die. The planet's going to die. The sun's going to go into a red dwarf. It's going to. It's when the sun dies, we die. I mean, the whole planet's going to be Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. They're going to be gone, you know, and we'll be gone well before that, because we're in this little zone, you know, and if the sun just decides to expand, we're done. You know, we'll have to leave or whatever, because we're done. There's no planet left. You know, so that is going to happen.
Maybe the lights that we all see, the ones that are studying us, are trying to maybe figure out our worthiness to be rescued from ourselves. You know, I sometimes wonder about that.
Yeah, and it's billions of years away. The sun's going to do that, and maybe we'll evolve to where you know, we've learned how to do all this, and we can just leave. You know.
Well,
that's what's gonna. That's the end of it right there.
It seems to be like an inbuilt default mechanism, isn't it? They're always trying to figure out how we can get to another rock, and if we are kind of like genetically engineered by a species that rock hop, then it would be in our nature to, you know, to eventually evolve to the point where we do that, because that
start breathing methane.
You know, as we are, I think we need to be grounded, because we can't even look after the place that we've got, let alone, you know, make a good job of another one.
That's because here's the deal with religion. I mean, all religions believe that God gave us this planet to do with, you know, what we will to do with it, meaning all the plants, animals, whatever. So
free will is a big thing in religion. God gave us free will. That's right.
Yeah,
God gave us free will to either exist with Him or to exist on this planet and make it our own, and we chose to make it our own. And so far, the last 6,000 years, we hadn't done a real good job.
And that's why they don't give a crap about global warming and any of that stuff, because they're just like, well, God said we could do that, and He's just going to give us a new world if this one goes bad. So we don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's their thinking. I mean, that's what they think.
Well,
you know, screw all the people that are going to die.
The people that are screwing everything up are going to be the ones that are going to be able to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's like the people who don't want it to be like this are the ones that want, you know, they're not in that place to have the opportunity to go and make a good life somewhere else, or even stay here.
No, it'll be generic. It'll probably be genetic.
It's always going to be that kind of draconian rock hop.
Yeah, because humans aren't made for space. Space is a hostile freaking nightmare. All of the, you know, the radioactive winds and all that stuff. If we're on a ship, like that story, you know, we're meat. You know what radiation does to meat? Very bad things. You know.
So we live in a very radioactive atmosphere anyway.
You have a bunch of meat out in space, it's going to get cooked, you know. I mean, you're going to have to, there's going to have to be some serious freaking technology or some sort of genetic engineering to send people, you know, it's going to be at the genetic level, you know, where we're re-engineering people and stuff like that to be able to maybe grow some goofy skin or something, you know what I mean, to keep the protons and stuff like that from cooking you, you know. So and that's pretty funny, man. I mean, listen, we don't have moon bases. You know why we don't have moon bases? Because they haven't figured out how to deal with all the Martian dust. If you have a habitat and there's so much clingy dust and everything that it gets everywhere, You can't shut doors. You can't seal doors. You can't, you know what I'm saying? Once it gets in the environment, then, they can't clean it out. It's a little shit like that costs billions of dollars for them to figure that out. That's the type of shit they're working on, really. That's the type of stuff NASA is working on to put a moon base, to have a moon base, because all that little stuff, a solar flare. If the moon's in the right place and we get hit with and they have like a coronal ejection like we've been having lately, and it hits the moon, they're gone. They're dead. Everyone's dead. There's no, you have to be under. No, I don't even think being underground would help you. It might.
Yeah, no, but that's like being hit by a supergravity wave, and there's not many things going to survive that, unless you are so deep underground.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that they're working on. I mean, all that little stuff. I mean, 9 days. I think it was 9 days earlier or later. The first Apollo mission, those guys would have been killed. They would have been killed. There was a mass, mass solar ejection, and it would have killed them. It would have cooked them. They did micron scans of their helmets, and you can see all of the damage done to the equipment from space radiation. It actually left craters, that look like fingers coming out.
The Martin Stubbs footage has got these little flashes of light, the smoking gun thing that you mentioned earlier. They've actually found that these suits have got little tiny pinprick holes in them, from these things slicing through them. So, and
it's brutal out there.
Yeah, and they were walking through the kind of like a joining tunnel. Obviously, it's the rings of the cloth that stretched over, and these things were shooting through these, through the material of it, without slowing down, stopping anything, just like it wasn't there, And so that's not good for a person, I'm sure.
They took, I don't if it was E. coli or something like that, and they took one of those bacteria, which is, it's pretty dangerous to humans, and they took it to space. It turned out to be, it mutated in space to be 500 more times deadly in space. God. And can you imagine if someone like China or whatever, North Korea, set a bunch of that stuff up in space to orbit our planet, let it mutate, and then let that shit re-enter and land in the United States? Can you imagine? I mean, that type, something like that happen. They put organisms outside in space for like an entire year, and they went in there, and there were organisms that lived in space. They thrived. What I mean?
This is something that bothered me actually, because I remember reading about the probe that they sent up to Europa. And they mentioned that they sterilised it, and I thought, well, don't they sterilise everything before they send it into space? Nope. So
they count on it dying.
They're
like, oh, it's going to die. They're like, oh, it's going to die.
Yeah.
They had the what was the Russian thing that was at Sputnik, or what was out there forever? What was their space station that was out there for 50 years or whatever?
The Soyuz.
No, they actually had a space station that was orbiting the planet for like 30 years. It was all broken down, and they finally killed it. But they had all sorts of problems with bacteria growing in the air conditioning and in the electronics, and it was just breeding like crazy up there. So this is the way I look at it. We may be big and smart, but we're not on the top of the food chain.
Oh, it was Mia, wasn't it?
We're not.
It was Mia.
Microorganisms evolved. Microorganisms can kill us as quick as anything else can.
I think we are. I mean, everything we're made up of is pretty much microorganisms, you know what I mean? It's like we act like a bacteria. We fill up a substrate until it can't cope with us anymore, and then we die off.
That's right. You're correct.
If we don't have the right, light, moisture, etc., we die. What's the difference? We wear clothes.
Yeah, there's stuff that's been frozen, for millions of years, and they wake it up.
Well, there's these bacteria that shoot things off out of them. That's like sending things out into space, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, man.
What's the difference, man?
I think this is why I think humans were genetically engineered somehow way back in the day, because we've devolved essentially.
Yeah.
We lost all our defenses from the environment. Hot, cold. We have to wear clothes, and we lost our hair, and our jaws got shorter, and just all sorts of crap. It just doesn't make sense why all these other things in the world would evolve and adapt. Even if it's one plant and one insect that do this little dance, for millions of years, and they've evolved that way. But we haven't. We've gotten, we're the same stupid tribal people with just better toys than, we are. We're the same scared, fear-based religion. There's always some guy in the sky going to kick our ass,
But true, even way back then, there's all those...
Yeah, we're exactly the same.
Yeah, but there's all those references to other planets, other, stars all the time. We're always referencing the stars in everything. Caves, hieroglyphs, you name it. It's all there. It's, the constant...
And it just doesn't make sense. We don't make sense on this planet because we could leave and everybody would be like, yeah! The Earth would be like, fuck yeah!
We serve no ppurpose whatsoever.
Yeah, we're as far as the planet goes, we're like this bad rash, and all these other species are just trying to get around us and just exist around us without any bullshit. It's like watching my mom's cats trying to deal with my dogs. How they, how they've adapted to life. Sneaking through a room and that sort of thing. It's because now there's a new enemy there or a new adversary.
Yeah.
And it's funny to watch.
We're the reasoning animal, though, right? We're the only animal. We're the person that has the ability to reason, but we still have those same animalistic instincts that have not left us.
We have the ability to reason, but we're so unreasonable.
Yeah, our reasoning skills, that's a great blanket statement, but, if you look at the amount of the stupid shit people do, I really question our ability to reason and common sense. Listen, they've proven like seals and whales and dolphins and all that have language. They make decisions. Hell, I watch my dogs do stuff that would just blow your mind, And I don't think dolphins are all that super smart.
We've got the ability. We just don't know how to.
Yeah, they they wouldn't keep going to Japan every year to get slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? You think they would have put the word out. Don't go here, you'll die.
But our mind's not like that. We reason and think and pre-plan and diagnose and reason what we can do to better ourselves, and in many cases the power control thing that I think all humans have that's left over from the apes, the power control thing seems to win out in most cases because we live in a world controlled by powers and people that are powerful. And I think that's part of our basic animalistic instinct that we've not yet learned to turn off in ourselves.
Mm.
Right. Look at all the laws on this planet that are enacted to keep that animal instinct in place.
Yeah.
Think about all the laws that they have to enact to keep people from doing stupid shit, killing people, the whole things that you feel inside your head when someone cuts you off, and you're in a bad mood, you want to ram them and kill them, and you know.
I don't know
kick
that
him in the
everybody
throat.
wants to do that, guy, but you know, I can
You want to
safely
kick
say
him in
that
the
I've had
throat,
those
and, you know.
Yeah.
And
You know what I'm
that
saying.
there are some that don't control that instinct and actually do stop.
It's very
and kill.
true.
There are people that do that.
And they are psychopaths, and they've actually mapped a portion of the brain to where those people that do that type of stuff actually have it's in their brain. It's not a decision thing. It's like it's really hard to explain. It's I saw a 2 hour thing on it where they took X-rays of all these, you know, crazy people, and a lot of it's genetic. You know, they have no empathy, and you know, so it's okay. They don't see what's wrong with it, killing puppies and, you know, stuff like that.
And we're social creatures too.
Yep, that is very true. Yeah, we are a funny bunch, aren't we? We're so contrary in every aspect of our personalities. It's like we have this opposite in us all, don't we? Most of us, well, I don't know if it is most of us. Some of us manage to stay on the right side, but I don't know. But I think there's so much that goes on in life that you just don't even know what to think, how to think. You know, we're so bombarded with everything, and then we all have our moments in life that make things confusing, like, you know, like what you've seen, Ken, what I've seen, when the things that Guy's gone through, they change you, and they change the way that you look at the things that are in front of you, and then it makes things harder to decipher. And I know I've made some bad decisions, and so my reasoning's been way off. But when that's been the case, it's been my emotional state that's been way off. And so, you know, the direction...
Yeah, but if you learn from it...
Yeah.
And listen, Sasha, I've known you for a while, and I've watched you completely evolve as a person and a researcher and everything else. I mean, you've grown up like, you know, a whole lifetime almost, you know.
Yeah.
And having to deal with, you know, a lot of the stuff that you've dealt with, you kept a pretty level head when it really comes down to it. And you stick by your guns, and you're not bullied and that sort of thing. And I'm the same way, and I'm not, I'll listen to, you know, the data or whatever, and, you know, you take a lot of things, and you have to take a lot of things into account, Sasha and Ken, when you, when somebody is telling you something.
Yeah.
You know, what type of person this is, you know, does he screw people over? You know, is there a book involved? You know, there's just a whole bunch of stuff, even in everyday life. You know, you have to look at people's motives of why they do things. And you start to see a pattern, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you can be safe with that person, or, you know, that when the shit hits the fan, this is what you're going to expect, you know? Not only did I want to, listen, the reason I proposed a every 2 weeks was, one, I wanted to do, you know, very in-depth type shows and make them kind of like events, you know what I mean? And two, because Sasha and I are very volatile people. We're very volatile and deal with a lot of stuff. And, I mean, I was in a dark hole for a week and a half before this show. I mean, I didn't get on Facebook. I didn't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? And, you know, that can play hell on things, and you have to have time to deal with it, you know? So I know what to expect from Sasha. She knows what to expect from me. We have a mutual respect for each other, and, you know, we're not going to fuck each other over.
Right.
And that's important. That's very important to have, even if just one or two of those people in your life.
Yeah.
You don't need,
I've always said,
you don't need
I've
anybody
always said
else.
I've got a lot of acquaintances in my life, but I've got less friends than you can count on one hand, because
Yeah,
you know,
me too.
That's the way in this life is. You don't trust everyone, and there's few people that I let in to trust. And I've got a lot of people I know and socialize with and deal with on a daily basis, but I can count the number of true friends I have on one hand, and that's people I've known all my life, basically. I think everyone's like that, or they should be anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people will have to have, a lot of people in ufology are attention whores.
Yeah.
They have to be,
They've taught us all everything now. I mean, they've taught us how to be discerning and what the types are and who you can believe and how the people who are telling the truth talk, So everything that Ken said tonight has been absolutely amazing because it's completely different to what I expected it to be. But there's so much, intrigue to it. And because of the way that you've talked, Ken, because of the kind of person that you are, the life that you've had, all the rest of it, and to me, you're like, there's these kind of categories of reliable witnesses, unreliable witnesses, credible witnesses. Credible witnesses are people who, military, police, all the rest of it, or they've got an academic qualification. Reliable are people who are deemed to be able to recount an event or recall an event and recount it fairly accurately, but that doesn't mean to a lot of people that they're going to be credible, but that to me doesn't really actually have any bearing on it. It's how the person is, how they present themselves, how they talk about it. You haven't elaborated on anything. We've covered what you're saying almost pretty quickly. We've discussed a lot of other things in the show.
Right.
But the fact is that you're steadfast, and everything that you've said to me is like absolutely, completely on the line as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and all it takes is something like this to give, like what Ken's story is, to give something new life.
Yeah. And
start people down the road, thinking about things. I don't know how many times when I was working in IT as a project manager, and I had things that were just kicking my ass, and I just couldn't get over it. And then somebody, like a user, would say something, and it would just flip a switch, and the floodgates would open.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, boom, you're off to the races, and you're running. So, because this happened on a different night, I'm interested to see if there were not only civilian reports and that sort of thing, but also, civilian reports and military reports of other, especially in that time frame we talked about, like that 9-month time frame, if there were, other incidents, people looking up in the sky and said something,
Well, there's a way that someone could go and delve into it and pull up some documents, I'm sure, from the time frame involved. And I rest assured, I bet there are other incidents that were reported during that time frame. My hope has always been that some other people that were there and saw what I saw would come forward. But as any military unit is, it was people from all over the country. So the people that was in that unit there in 1977, they're dispersed all over the United States right now, I'm sure. But those 20, 30 people that saw what I saw, I know still have that memory of it. But finding those people and getting them to recount the incident, that's the problem. I told John what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, because every unit had a unit photograph made at graduation. I'm going to go back and find my graduation photo and see if I can't locate some of the people that were in my unit. And maybe
put an X on their head.
some little internet searches on some of the people, because I do recall a few people's names that I was in the unit with, because a couple of them actually came to Fort Bragg with me when I left Fort Benning and came to Fort Bragg. It was one guy in particular named Steve Croft, I remember, who was from Florida. He was there that night. He was from Florida, and so that's one name I recall. There's several others that I recall just the first name, but I've not been able to locate anyone else that was actually there. Not saying that I've done an extensive search, but I've done a few just, internet searches for people's names and stuff. But that's my hope, that other people that actually saw what I saw that night would recount their story in some form where it could be related to what I saw.
Well, we're on the trail for John, so definitely on it for you as well. And if Stan, if he's got his teeth into this, I'm sure he'll come up with some stuff really quite quickly. It's what he does, It's like he knows where to look, he knows where to go immediately, doesn't he?
Yeah, we should try and coordinate with him, so we're not all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Good idea.
Yeah, I got the bug now, so...
You've really sent my head off in a spin, when I'm kind of thinking all of this stuff going on these military bases is, the behavioural psychology thing, but in each one there's a little element that makes me go, yeah, but, and because I've seen what I've seen and the things that have happened to me, I am not denying the existence of ET at all. I don't know what they are or where they're from, but we'll call them that because everybody knows what I mean.
I don't know where they are or where they're from, but I don't deny the existence.
Everybody knows what I mean when I say it. It's just that other thing that, we're denied the truth about. I know it's there. I know I've seen it. I know. Even if I can't prove it, even to myself, I know inside me, I know. So my body is telling me, this is right, they are there.
If you listen to your spidey senses, everybody has them. That Spider-Man knowing something. Yeah. Everybody has that. If you just open yourself up to that, your bullshit detector will just go crazy, and you'll just be able to you'll just be able to throw all this stuff out. You can just get rid of all this cancer and concentrate on what's, concentrate on what drives you. You're not distracted by all this other crap. You can look at this case with an open mind and say, well, here are some of the things that are on the table. Let's start looking at them and start crossing them off. You just go where, like we say, Sasha and I say,
go where the data takes us.
That's where you go. You go where that takes you. You don't worry about...
It's a weird place.
Yeah, and even if it's ugly and unpopular or whatever, you got to say, now wait a minute, you gotta you gotta come out of your comfort. And I don't have a comfort zone when it comes to this.
I know, I'm uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah, I don't have a...
I'm not even comfortable in my own skin most days.
No, I'm not. but and there's reasons for that,
Yeah.
So, but we recognize...
Well, my main reason has been in my life because I'm just an average person, and I've had to work and support a family, and I've raised 4 kids, and been a member of the community, and, to keep my lifestyle up, I've had to go out and work for a living. So I hadn't had a lot of time to devote to looking at different things like this, just because of life itself, to be a productive member of society. Sometimes you have to give up some of the things you'd like to do, but I'm getting toward my retirement age now, so after I retire, I may have time to do a little more internet research than what I do now.
Yeah, sometimes you can just put things down till later.
Up until a few months ago, that was my thing. I mean, I worked, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and I was doing Church of Mavis, and that was like, it was almost impossible for me to do, a lot of the side things, involved with that show. And it caused a lot of conflicts and that sort of thing, but it also paid for the show, and everything else. But, I understand where you're coming from, Ken. It's been really hard for me to kind of make this adjustment. It's not a permanent thing that I'm going through right now, but it was like, hey, I actually have time where I can actually look at this, and I want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't leave it alone. I'm obsessed.
I like to do it too.
I live on my own with my children, and I've got 4. I haven't been particularly well for a few years. And if I didn't have this, I totally would have gone under. Just like when I was working, if I didn't have work, I would have gone under. That transition from working to not working because of my illness, I went under.
Right.
And this is where I've surfaced, and my life's a lot better now. So I can actually do this radio show. We haven't been doing it long. A lot of the stuff, my talks, my
like
website.
Sports show, I think.
You have to be in a certain place in your life to be able to do these things. We can't all chase our dreams. And sometimes we do. We just end up chasing our tails.
Yeah, it's pretty much, or not having a tail to chase.
Yeah. So at least you've got something to do when you retire, and you're not just going to be bugging your wife.
Yeah, coloring books and.
Well, in my case, I would like to find just one other person that could say, "Yeah, I was there. I saw that," and it would reinforce my life a lot. Just that.
Yeah.
Just one other person that could say, "Well, yeah, I was there that night. I saw the same thing you did." Because until I find that one person out there, I'm just going to be going by what my memory is and what I saw that night, and there's going to be no affirmation to what I saw other than my memory. It would be nice to have one other person that could say, well, I was standing in that line that night.
I can completely relate to that, because when we had our group sighting, everybody fell out. We all went our separate ways, and for 13 years it was just me beating this drum, and I didn't even know if I'd remembered anything correctly because I didn't have anybody else saying anything to me. It was all mine, and it was a burden.
That's brutal.
And
That's brutal to go through, man.
And then I found them just over a year ago, and I was hoping they'd say, no, it didn't happen like this, it happened like this, you've misremembered this, it wasn't that scary, blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, it happened exactly like that. And in fact, one of the people that was with us committed suicide a few years ago because they couldn't live with it. And the other two people are still struggling as I do, and for that reason alone, I will never stop pushing for some answers. Whether I get them or not, I have no idea. I've got to do it. It's my only survival. Because of how it changed me. I didn't have a solid family. I didn't have anything. I was on my own. So, I did have to carry that on my own, and that validation. Just from hearing somebody else, it doesn't change anything. Initially, you don't feel any different, but then after a while, you just think, yeah, brilliant. And then, it does make a difference. I always said that it's not made me feel any different, but a year later, I can tell you, hand on heart, it really has made a difference. I'm so glad. So I understand John's plight, and that's why I feel for him, and that's why I've promised to try and find some other people, or at least one. So I can totally empathise with how you feel about that.
It's like
I think that's why John was so intrigued to talk to me, because I was one person that was there in the same time frame that said I had saw something also. I think that's what.
Yeah, because he's had this in his head for all these years, and it's been just him.
Yeah.
And to hear somebody else come forward and say the words like, yeah, I was there. I was there when you were there, and I saw something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's got to be a life-affirming event for him. Okay, I'm not crazy. This person's not crazy. It's the same reason I watch all those hokey. Well, they're not all hokey, but all the ghost hunting shows and all that stuff, because it constantly validates stuff that happens to me and did happen to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and that's what it's like, oh man, all right. That happens to other people, that type of crap, And
I'm not on my own.
I'm just like, am I freaking insane, And I've felt that way for years. Yeah. And so when all this stuff started happening, I was like, oh, cool. So I just accepted it, that it happened, and and I'm at peace with it.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
That's what's important. So it doesn't matter what happens to you, whether if something really bad happens to you in your life, and if you become where you can be at peace with it, then you can move on. It's when you let it be a cancer and just, rule your life.
Yeah.
Which it does.
Yes, it
so,
does.
So hey, man, we're getting up on like the 2-hour mark. Sasha, did you have anything that anything else you wanted to discuss?
Not off the top of my head, not right now, no. But this is something that I think the Fort Benning incidents, plural, are going to be something that we're going to come back to.
Yeah,
because
this will be our like me and you and Ken and John and maybe get Stanton involved and maybe some other people. We'll really put a stake in this, maybe.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Ken, we got to. We'll keep in touch, and you have.
All right. If there's anyone out there that happened to be at Fort Benning during that period of time that hears this show on the radio, I would be willing to talk to them at any time. My phone number is posted on the internet.
Have you got an email address that you want to share with people?
That's right. It's kenneth.darnell@ncdps.gov. I don't have a home internet address. It's just I have a work internet address.
We can put this. We can put it up as text on the YouTube video that we'll make of the show. We can include your email address for people to contact you. So I know because it gets said quickly, but we can put it up as a feature so that people can contact you directly.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I certainly do appreciate the conversation, and it's very interesting. And I hope that maybe I've explained my experience well enough for someone to say, well, there's a guy that was there along with John and saw it also.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
And they won't want to run away from you because you sound like a nut job. So they'll
we'll tell you,
right, okay, this guy's on the level. I will definitely talk.
And we'll tell you if you're a nut job. I'll come right out and say you're
I'm not.
Definitely
on the show.
And now I've got your email address as well. If I come across any document, well, I have got a few documents that you might find interesting anyway, just about certain things that were going on around at that time that might have some bearing on your thinking. But also I have a document about UFO protocol that was written in 1954 and has been amended quite a few times since, so it's a genuine thing about UFO incidents at home, USA and overseas, which, if nothing else, will validate the fact that they did have teams on the case. So if what you saw was ET, an extraterrestrial craft of some description, that they know that they existed. It's always good. I think you'll just find it fascinating anyway. I know I did. I actually nearly crapped myself when I found it. I thought, am I supposed to have this? Are people going to kick my door down? But, that was quite a few years ago, and when I was still nervous.
No, I mean, I know. And, well, because of those documents, I could corroborate what George Knapp was saying when he was investigating his site. He actually ran in to that nuclear defense force out there investigating it too, or doing whatever they were doing. You know what I mean? So it exists. So
it is happening.
Yeah.
And I like Guy's theory of it could be both of them in cahoots. That's just brilliant. I can't believe I didn't think of it. I can't believe that. I hate you.
Hey man, you don't want to poop where you eat.
This is true.
So they're probably like, you better keep your house in order or whatever,
Oh, I've got a lot of work to do then. Right. Ken, you've been brilliant. You've been a great guest. Thank you for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You too, man.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So next, when are we doing the next one?
We are doing the next one on the on Halloween night, a special show.
Oh, Oh, God, yeah.
Halloween night, which is a Wednesday, we will have the wonderful Don Ecker
talking
on the
about
show, and
things.
we're going to be talking about some crazy crap that Don's involved with, and I will get a new perspective on Don. I thought he's just a radio show host and not into all this other stuff. He's
about vampires. He's written some great horror stories, and obviously we're going to talk about his gory research in the beginning, but we're going to talk about his book, and he also wants to talk about, I can't remember his name. Why is my memory not perfect? Anyway, in England, in the Bournemouth, which is like the place where old people go to sit on deck chairs with blankets over the knees and walk along the promenade, blah, 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 right? We have our own vampire slayer, and he lives in Bournemouth. So I didn't even need to hear any more about that. I just thought that was absolutely hysterical and definitely worth the airtime. So
kind of like a Bubba Hotep or something like that.
I don't even know. Unless all vampires have reached such a sort of ancient age, they're pretending old age pensioners in these sleepy little seats. I don't know how they've all become day walkers, but I'm sure that I think it's just going to be a blast because Don's funny and it's no holds barred. He just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, good. I want to get him out of his element and just
Well, I had a conversation with him last week, and he's always firing on all four cylinders.
Awesome. And we're going to have John Vasquez back on November 10th. He's going to go over what happened, because it wasn't just that one night at Fort Bennings. It was a 3-day period, I guess. Yeah. They took him out in the woods and just all sorts of crap. So we're going to go through that. And then Sasha's going to be giving some presentations at some conferences. Right. And I want to get recordings of those, break them down, and then go over the stuff you're talking about. So, it gets out there.
That's the reason the shows are all out, I think, because I'm talking on the 15th and the 17th November. I'm also doing something on the 27th, which I can't tell you. It's classified information.
Uh-oh.
You'll know all about it. Trust me, as soon as I go, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the 15th I'm speaking in Birmingham for Birmingham UFO Group. I can't remember where. I should have these details. And then on the 17th I'm speaking at the ASAP conference in Worcestershire. So that's really quite bonkers. I've actually got to stand in front of people and talk instead of hiding behind a laptop with a little business card holding over my webcam.
Yeah, man, you got to get that information out there.
Yeah, so they'll be given an airing, and then God knows I don't think we've thought into New Year yet, but it'll all be fabulous anyway.
All right, cool. All right, sweetie, I will talk to you probably tomorrow.
Later, Gator.
Or whatever. Yes. All right, guys. Have a good one, everybody.
Night-night.